Welcome to Behemoth Gate 1 and Gate 2 guide video. Hit the like and sub in advance and come to my Twitch channel for family friendly time. Behemoth is a 16-man raid which only has a normal mode. In Korea, it's 1640 tier 4 raid, but in the West, it's 1620 tier 3 raid according to the roadmap. For the reward, you get 7,000 gold from Gate 1 and 14.5 thousand gold from Gate 2, so 21.5 thousand in total. With the new material, you can unlock the weapon transcendence. It's more expensive than the armor transcendence, but the system is same. Just clear the board up to stage 7. If you claim all the bonus loot without the bid, then it takes around 6 weeks to fully transcendence. This increases around 6.5% damage. Gate 1 battle items: DPS Atropine and Supporter Stimulant. 3 parties take Dark Grenade, and a party that's not Party 1 takes Flame Grenade. Additionally, Party 1 takes Destruction Bomb. This is because each team has to split for the gimmick later on. I will explain in detail later. The boss is Ancient type, so there's no type advantage from the card book. Just take Light Salvation. The boss starts with 500 HP bars. Also, there are 8 team death counts which are shared among 16 people. Gate 1 raid system, weak point system. On the left side of the boss's HP, you can see a drawing of Behemoth. If you hover the pointer, then it shows the damage done to each of his parts. The color becomes closer to red when the damage increases. Your goal is to attack the Behemoth until his body damage reaches 100%. When it's reached, then he gets staggered for 30 seconds, and you will see a mark called weak point on his tail and both wings. Ignore the tail and burst one of the wing. While hitting the weak point, all the back and head attack skills get positional benefits, so you can attack from any directions. You can see blue HP in the mark decreasing. When it reaches 0, then go to the other wing and burst it down. You want to take down his both wings in 30 seconds. To do that, pretty much the players should use Atropine. If both wings are taken down, then the weak point from his head reveals. Burst his head. When his head is down, then you get a huge damage buff on his head for a few seconds. When he wakes up, that's the end of the weak point, and the HP of his body and wing resets. So the goal is to repeat this weak point system to make a huge DPS window. Once you take down his head, from the next time, you just have to take down his both wings since his head HP stays 0. So you get longer time to burst his head with huge damage buff. If you fail to take down both wings in time, then he wakes up, which results in DPS loss. In this case, the wing that is not destroyed does not recover his HP, so next time, you should be able to destroy both wings. Among the normal patterns, there's a pattern where you can hit his wing. If you reduce the wing's HP, then it helps a lot to destroy both wings when the weak point happens. Check out the normal pattern timestamp to see the pattern. Buff system. Whenever you hit the boss, then you get stacks of buff which increases 0.1% attack power per stack. This can stack up to 45, and when it reaches 45, then you get additional 5% attack power, so 9.5% in total. But whenever you get hit by any patterns, then you lose stacks. Also, if you get hit by the pattern when you don't have any stacks, then you get a debuff that increases the incoming damage by 10% for a few seconds, so you don't want to get hit by any patterns. Around 460 HP, a cutscene happens. From this point, 4 different guardians will spawn on each direction one by one. Whenever they spawn, Mario starts talking, and you can see which side the guardian spawned. The goal is to kill them as fast as possible before Mario's HP reaches 0. If Mario dies, then that's a raid wipe. For the directions, Nakra Sena on 9 o'clock, Yoho on 3 o'clock, Calventus on 5 o'clock, and Valganus on 7 o'clock. The first one is always Nakra Sena. Party 1, which has Destruction Bomb, should quickly move to that side. The patterns involve with a lot of shocking skills, but if you succeed a counter from his charge pattern, then you can destroy his tail, which makes his patterns easier. After that, just take him down. Other 3 guardians have a random order. When Mario calls out Yoho, then the party with Flame Grenade should move. There's a Twister pattern which imprisons the players. Save the players by using Flame Grenade and stagger Yoho, then take him down. For Calventus, there's an orb pattern. He summons orbs which tries to reach the boss. If you kill them, then the party gets damage buff which makes it easier to take him down. Vulcanus might be tricky. You do 0 damage from the start, so wait until he does the pizza pattern. When it starts, look at which direction it swirls, and just walk around to that side. Then you get a buff to do damage. He also does the tribute pattern. All 4 players get yellow mark above, and one of them turns black. That player has to quickly go into the circle, then you just have to take him down. Periodical pattern. Twister. When his berserk time reaches 11 minutes, then he starts this pattern, and he does it every 3 minutes. 8 white lines are shown from the boss. Then the boss shoots twisters to that direction. When the twister reaches the edge of the field, then it explodes, which kills a lot of players, so players have to take the twisters. The problem is, if a player takes the twister, then the player and the nearby players get a debuff that lasts for 2 seconds. Also, if you get this debuff again before it runs out, then you get massive damage that can easily kill you. So to properly resolve this pattern, everyone should spread from each other. Then take the twisters. Then wait for 2 seconds until the debuff runs out, and then take the next one and repeat. Around 190 HP, the boss flies away. After a few seconds, the boss charges in the air for 2 times. When he tries to come back, which is the second charge, you have to succeed a co-op counter. Then a cutscene happens, and Behemoth requires a stagger check. Stagger him and DPS his head for huge damage until he wakes up. After this, just take down his HP to 0, and that's the end of the raid. Normal patterns. Let me cover the weak point related patterns first. Wing pound. The boss sticks one wing on the ground and pounds the other wing, which generates a donut attack. During this pattern, you can hit the weak point of the wing on the ground. DPS the wing as much as possible for the weak point system. Counter. The boss's eye glows red and requires a counter. If you succeed a counter, then you can attack his head for a few seconds. This time, let me cover the debuff patterns. In this raid, the boss can apply a lot of debuffs. Among them, there are 2 important ones, water and electric debuffs. You get these debuffs from certain patterns and they last for 30 seconds. The problem happens when these debuffs meet each other. If you get hit by the electric patterns when you still have the water debuff, then the debuff enhances and gives massive tick damage for 30 seconds. Hopefully, at least the tick damage itself doesn't kill you. All these debuffs are not cleansable. Okay, then let's look at some patterns. Water patterns. Hydro pump. The boss slams his tail on the back and hydro pumps the front side. You can hit his head during this pattern. Hit it from the side to avoid the water. Back hydro pump. The boss hydro pumps to the backside of either left or right. Wing flap. The boss flaps its both wings on the side. Stay close to the back or front side. Back wave. The boss pounds his tail on the back and send waves to the diagonal backside. Dodge the tail and stay on the back. Small water sprout. The boss lowers his head and waters on where the players are. Do not greed and dodge the water first. Big water sprout. The boss holds his head high and sprouts water on the field. Whenever the players get hit by water patterns, then you will see a red buff getting stacked below the boss's HP. When it reaches 8, then he does the electric patterns. Small branch. The boss charges orb on his front. Stay on his backside. Then an attack happens in a branch shape. Just be in the safe zone. Big branch. The boss surrounds the field and attacks with large branch attacks. During this pattern, you get pulled to the outer side. If you get out of the field, you will most likely die. You will see wave as well. The wave knocks you, and when you don't have a quick stance, then you will be pulled all the way out, which is a kill. When the wave passes, then the next one doesn't happen on the same path, so move to that spot after it passes. IQ test. The boss flies in the air and shows a telegraph of attacks. You have to memorize and dodge the attacks. You can cheese by staying on the last telegraph layer and then move to the attacked layer. At the end, the boss stomps the ground with the pizza attack. This attack does massive damage, so dodge it. Now let's move on to Gate 2, Battle Items. All 4 parties take Atropine or Stimulant and Dark Grenade. The boss starts with 705 HP bars. Gate 2 Raid System. Gate 2 also shares the same weak point system, buff system, and the water electric debuff. The water patterns are same, but for the electric patterns, there are 2 more patterns aside the 3 patterns in Gate 1, so 5 in total. Small Field. The boss flies in the air for a long time and shows small safe zone. Then he AoE attacks 2 times. You just have to stay where there's no telegraph. Riding the Twister. The boss flies in the air for a short time, and the view zooms out. You will see gray and blue twisters. Soon, the boss covers the whole field with telegraph. When the telegraph reaches around the middle point, take the gray twister. Then you can survive from the attack by getting airborne. This attack most likely kills you if you fail. Also, the blue twister shocks you, so don't be near. Periodical pattern. Twister. In Gate 2, he also does the twister pattern by showing 8 white lines, but the way how it works is a bit more tricky. All the parties should move to ×3 and ×3 plus 1 direction. One of each party member should stick close to the boss where there's no 8 white lines. Those 4 players get a wind debuff that pushes other nearby players. This debuff lasts for such a long time, which makes the game unplayable. To remove the debuff, the 4 players just have to stay close to the boss where there's no 8 white lines. Then the duration of the debuff that's shown above their character decreases all the way to 0. Also, the farthest players on each side of the party gets an additional white line. Those players should direct the line to the closest player. Then the closest player can absorb the twister coming from the additional line. So rest of 12 players just have to deal with the twisters from the initial 8 lines. The way to take the twister is same as Gate 1. Take the twister, wait for 2 seconds for the debuff to run out, then take the next one and repeat. If no one takes the twister, then it will reach the edge of the field and explode, which kills a lot of players. If the closest player stays on where the initial 8 lines are, he will die. Also, if the additional line is not directed to the closest player, then he will fail to absorb the twister from that side, and that makes other players to take more twisters, which makes it harder. To quickly stand in the positions, it's better to assign the closest player from each party before Gate 2 starts. Environmental factors. Water Sprout. Periodically, a random player gets a mark. Water Sprout happens for several times to where that player is. This attack generates water puddles in the field. These puddles are fine to step on. They just periodically sprout water, which is not lethal. Also, regularly, a blue twister follows a player. If it passes the puddle, then it gets removed. So that player should aggro the twister to where the puddles are. Around 190 HP, the boss flies away. All the party should go to ×3 direction. Then a cutscene happens. Afterward, the boss requires a stagger check and you will see lots of blood crystals in the field. The goal is to put the crystals into the boss to do stagger. To do that, all the players should hit the crystals on their side until both sides of the crystal cracks out. Then it flies to the boss. But if you hit harder, then the crystal gets destroyed. During the mech, don't stay close to where the boss is, you will die. If you succeed the stagger in time, then you will go to phase 2. But if you fail, then he does wipe attack. At the same time, Ren makes barriers on 2 directions. You have to quickly go behind the barrier to survive. So this is not a guaranteed raid wipe even if you fail, but you must succeed a stagger. Let me tell you why on phase 2. Phase 2. After the crystal mech, a cutscene happens. Then the boss jump attacks in a pizza shape. This does massive damage, so you must dodge it. The field becomes smaller, and if you get pushed to the outer side, then you will pretty much die. The good news is, there's no raid system from now on, only few patterns. Before I cover the patterns, let me explain why you have to succeed the previous crystal mech. The boss has a stagger line below his HP. When he gets staggered, then Ren throws a spear to the boss, which makes the stagger longer. During the stagger, his head weak point gets revealed, which gives a huge damage buff. Everyone should send full buff and use the last atropine on his head. Now the problem is, if you failed the crystal mech, then Ren doesn't throw the spear since she already used her power to make barriers. So you will have very short time to attack his head. Moreover, if the party DPS is low, then he berserks, so you want to succeed the crystal mech no matter what. If you take his HP to 0, then that's the end of the whole raid. Now let me cover the patterns in phase 2. There's only few. Front and back strike. The boss attacks the front side with large telegraph and then his back. Just stay on the side. Swipe 2 times and back strike. The boss swipes 2 times and strikes the back with his tail. This is the attack that people die a lot by getting pushed to the outer side. When he tries to swipe, then stay on his back. After the first swipe, look at where his wing is pointing. Move to that side. After the second swipe, just stay away from his back, then you can dodge everything. Wing flap. The boss flaps his both wings on the side. Stay close to his front or back. Charge and backstrike 2 times. The boss charges forward and slams his tail on his back 2 times. Pac-Man. The boss roots his wing and swipes back, which attacks in Pac-Man shape. Just stay in his back. Counter. The boss backsteps and vanishes. Soon, he tries to charge by showing a telegraph. This attack is counterable. If you succeed a counter, then he jumps, which attacks in pizza shape. Don't DPS and stay in the safe zone. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching and hit the like and sub if you liked it. Also, come to my Twitch channel for a family-friendly time. Stay Giga Chad.